Assalamu alaikum students, how are you all? Hope that you are having an amazing day. I'm Muhammad Naeem Amin Bhatti, and today the topic of our discussion will be Charles Dickens, his biography and works. This is you can say that a very wonderful type of phenomena from Charles Dickens that he has discussed the natural events and the things which beautify and adorn our lives. Charles Dickens was a great novelist and he has represented all the things according to the specifications of the society, the norms and conditions of the society, the human rights, especially the rights of the children. His biography also reveals some uh, rights of the children, and he has discussed his biographical elements also in his writing style and in his novels. So the very first slide appears to be the introduction of the writer. Charles John Huffam Dickens, born February 7, 1812, in Portsmouth, Hampshire, to John and Elizabeth Dickens. And in 1812, when he was just born, that was a time when the novel was uh, nourishing in the English society. It was not a mature period for the novel, but it was matured by Jane Austen and Charles Dickens. Both of these novelists became famous at that time when they spent most of their hours by writing the novels. He was sent to work in the Warren's blacking factory at the age of 12 after his father was arrested for debt. He worked 10 hours a day in absolutely atrocious working conditions, applying the labels to the shoe polish. There were bottles too in the factory, and as a child at that time, he experienced the most fatal situation of his life when he has to work in the factories at the just age of 12. His horrific experience during this time, although only a few months, forever changed his views and set the precedence of his writing styles. His writing style is adorned with his personal thoughts, his all personal experiences, and those experiences which he has faced in his lifetime. After that, Charles Dickens used his experiences at the factory to produce some of the most well known works of all the time. He is depicted as the greatest English novelist and is considered the second only to Shakespeare among all the English writers. If I say that who is the most greatest novelist of all the times, most of the critic will reply that there is no other writer except Charles Dickens, who has written the novels through his personal experiences and exposures. Throughout his works, Dickens' political and socialist views are very relevant. He writes of the life of individuals, often children, who are poor and mistreated by someone of the authority or wealth. However, the individuals go on to live a much happier existence, while the individuals who hurt them typically meet a less appealing fate. So, Charles Dickens has represented through his works that if a child is going to work in a factory or in a shop or any other place, he will meet a good fortune at the end of his life or during his life. So that is a proper question which is begging an answer nowadays, that where our society is going. And it was described and represented by Charles Dickens before 200 years, that the children are going to work at different places. We are taking the children rights away from them. we are not giving them the proper education. That is the lack of our social system. Dickens strongly supported the class system, and he was the natural in his thoughts, and he says that the class discrimination system should be valid in each and every society, so that the people should come to know that what is right and what is wrong, and use the writing of this story, Oliver Twist, to back his arguments on the socio-political situations and also on the socio-economic conditions of that society. Dickens used the profits from this book to create a foundation called the Britons for Socialism Foundation. He used this money for the well-being of the British people and also for the children who were working at that time in the factories. Dickens gave a series of the farewell readings close to the end of his life in London during 1870. It is said that at the end of his last reading, he spoke the words, "From this garish light I vanished now forevermore." That he was representing himself, that he is going from this world and now there will be no space in this world for him. And he is actually going far away from the responsibilities and the hardships of the life. It is said that, according to Dickens' obituary, that his very last words were, "Be natural, my children, for the writer that is natural has fulfilled all the rules of art." So a great writer was depicting his words for the society in a greatest style. Now I have categorized his life in childhood, youth, and in old age. So first of all, these are some points which describes the childhood of Charles Dickens. Dickens was born on 7th February 1812, as we have studied earlier. He spent the first 10 years of his life in Kent County, which is a county, a countryside area in the British Empire. Charles was the second of 8 children, so he was supposed to be responsible at that time. His parents, especially his mother, Elizabeth Barrow, has been in service to the Lord Crewe, although she aspired to be the teacher and school director at that time to meet the expenses of their daily life. His father was a clerk, an inspiration of the character of Mr. Micawber in David Copperfield, worked as a clerk for the Naval Pay Office. So actually he was belonging from the working class family. He was not an elite class person. In 1822, the Dickens family moved to the Camden Town. John Dickens was imprisoned for debt in 1824. He has to return the debt of many people. So he, along with his family, even his wife and 7 other children, except from the Charles Dickens, all were imprisoned at that time. So when Charles was just 12 years old, he had to work and to work at the different places, at the tanning factory, at the shoemaking factory section, at the bottle labeling factory. He used to paste the bottle labels on the bottles. So Dickens' mother moved into the prison with the 7 of her children, but one of her child was not moved to the prison, and that child was Mr. Charles Dickens. Only Charles lived outside the prison in order to earn money for the struggling family, and he worked with the other children, pasting the labels on the bottles in a blacking warehouse where he endured appalling conditions as well as the loneliness and despair. So these personal experiences gave an exposure to the Charles Dickens that he has wrote down pretty much of the different, unique, and best out of best works from his novels. And his quotation, that appeals a lot to the people, that the most important thing in the life is to stop saying I wish and start saying I will. And that is the basic rule of spending our life, that we don't have to indulge with the different type of hardships, and don't thought that I wish that hardship should over. Instead we say that I will over that hardship, I will overcome that hardship, I will overcome the situations. And Dickens was permitted to go back to school when his father received a family inheritance and used it to pay off his debts. But the experience was never forgotten and became the fictionalized in the two of his better known novels, David Copperfield and Great Expectation. The Great Expectation is all about Pip, and David Copperfield is also about the working class family. And now that is the end of our today's lecture, and hope that you will understand a lot from this lecture. And after that I will discuss the second part of the biography of Mr. Charles Dickens. Till that time, it's my prayer and it's my hope that all of you will be succeeded in near future, hopefully, inshallah. And till that, take care and Allah Hafiz.